Hello, pipers of the world. Stephen here. Hoping you're all recovered from the Christmas festivities and that you had a good time, however you chose to celebrate it. And that your 2017 has got off to a good start. First of all, the news. I've gone over 100 subscribers, which I'm very surprised that it's happened so quickly. I only started making videos, I think, at the end of November, so it escalated very quickly, much quicker than I expected it to. Thank you everyone for all your support and for subscribing to me. Yeah, amazing, really amazing. I'm really pleased about it. It seems like only a couple of weeks ago I was pleased about going over 30 subs, so topping 100, I think I'm about 112 at the time of recording this. This is it's just fantastic news for me. I will be doing the customary 100 sub contest, but like everybody else I think at this time of year I'm stony broke at the moment, so I hope you'll bear with me. It will be a week or two or three or four until the cash flow situation has eased. But thank you once again, that's marvellous, marvellous. Now, purpose of today's video, I've got a new pipe. And it's my first ever Meerschaum pipe. It's not new, it's second hand, it's an estate pipe. I don't know how well you'll be able to see it. I thought it was rather pretty. As you can see, it has been used, well used, or reasonably well used. So it already has a nice sort of honey colour to it. And all I had to do was clean up the stem and sterilise it. I had to gently remove some cake that the previous owner had allowed to build up in there. I took it back as far as I dared, and also had to take out about a quarter of a bowl of burnt tobacco that was still in there. I mean, why anyone would send out a pipe with burnt tobacco still in it, I really can't imagine. I mean, if they were selling a vintage ashtray, would they send it out with some old cigarette stubs in it? I don't know. Perhaps he thought it was some kind of bonus for me. But anyway, took that out, cleaned it up, and now I'm ready to smoke it. And I thought, really, as it's a Meerschaum from Turkey and all that kind of stuff, I really should have like a Balkan or an Oriental, but I don't have such a thing in the small Tupperware box that I laughingly call my cellar. So I thought I'd better go for something that at least sounds a bit exotic. And the only thing I've got that remotely sounds exotic is some Esoterica tobacco. Oh, sorry, my phone's bleeping. Sorry about that. Some Esoterica tobacco. And, well, Esoterica, you know, it sounds reasonably exotic, doesn't it, as the name goes. I mean, that said, it is Esoterica Blackpool. And for those that don't know, Blackpool is a British seaside resort, a famous British seaside resort on the northwest coast of England. And if you've been there, as I have many times, well, quite a few times, you'll know that many words can be used to describe Blackpool, but exotic isn't one of them. I mean, it has a bit of history to Blackpool because it was where working people from the north of England always flocked to for their holiday week, away from the mills and the factories. And that probably started back in, I should have looked this up first, probably back in Victorian times and well into the 20th century. Probably almost up to the day when jet travel sort of started making it possible for people to go abroad instead. The reason I've been there quite a few times is that my ex-wife's father lived just outside, a couple of miles outside. And so we'd when we went up there for visits, we'd take the kids into Blackpool for a walk along the seafront. You know, something a bit different. Certainly when you're living in London, it's different. And as long as we steered them away from the shops selling T-shirts with semi-pornographic slogans and seaside rock candy that had been amusingly moulded to resemble certain parts of the human anatomy, it was all right, you know. Stayed down by the beach, basically, and they've got trams running along the seafront as well, which was quite unusual. So that was my reason for going up there. Let's see. I might have packed this a bit loosely. The first time, sorry for the long delay, long silence there. The first time that I ever went to Blackpool had been back in the 1970s. I was working in London and a whole bunch of us went up for a long weekend, one autumn, to see the famous Blackpool illuminations. I mean, they were certainly famous back in the day. They used to get all manner of celebrities to turn them on. Jane Mansfield, I remember, turned them on one year. It was quite bizarre to think of Jane Mansfield up in Lancashire turning on the Blackpool illuminations. Yeah, and we all went up there for a long weekend to see the lights, the illuminations. Excuse me a second. I don't actually remember much about the illuminations, I have to say. I mean, back then, certainly in the 70s, I still can't get this stuff going, it's quite moist, I think a bit too moist. There was a very hard drinking culture in the UK, and some people would say it still exists now. I mean, I don't see it because I don't get out and about these days, but so we spent most of our time, as I recall it, in a place called Yates's Wine Lodge, which, if you're thinking quaint British pub, you're way off the mark. I'd sort of more like it, this is only my memory, I mean, this is 40 years ago, but in my, as I recall it, it was more what I call like a boozing factory where holiday makers, usually predominantly young males, would go to get absolutely bladdered before staggering out into the street and having a fight. And I remember one night we came out of there ourselves, having been in there for some time. And as is often the case, when you've had a night on the bevy, we were hungry. And in those days, back in the 70s, the only thing you would find open at closing time at night, after the pubs were chucking out, would be a fish and chip shop. I mean, we had no there were no sort of Burger Kings, McDonald's or anything like that in those days. It would just be a takeaway fish and chip shop, no seating, go in there, get your food and get out. And that's what we found. And so we duly went in there, lagered up, and sorry, and they had all the usual stuff there. And I was looking down the menu, and the rest of them were choosing, and I noticed they've got steak and kidney pudding on the menu, the takeaway menu. Now, if you don't know, the steak and kidney pudding I suppose you could say it's like a pie, but it's a deep pie because obviously it's steamed in a pudding dish, a pudding basin. And instead of having a crusty pastry, it's got a soft suet crust pastry containing meat and gravy. And you'd never get anything like that. I mean, I was living in London, you'd never see anything like that in a fish and chip shop in London. I mean, I lived in Notting Hill at the time. So you could get a kebab as well as fish and chips, or you could get a Jamaica patty, but you'd never see a steak and kidney pudding. And I love steak and kidney pudding. And in my inebriated state, I thought, well, I've got to take advantage of this opportunity. I'm going to have myself a steak and kidney pudding and chips to take away. I hadn't really thought through the logistics of it, to be honest with you. Because also, you know, I mean, we were staying in a boarding house, a bed and breakfast. Loads of them in Blackpool, obviously, because of the working people that would flock there for their holidays every year. And the landladies of Blackpool boarding houses in particular, probably one of the most fearsome and aggressive creatures known to humanity. And every boarding house would have a big list of rules prominently pinned up and displayed on the wall, where all guests must take notice of them. And these rules would all start with words like don'ts and do nots and no, and always featuring somewhere near the top of the list would be no food to be brought from outside onto the premises. And ours was no exception. So obviously what that meant was we had to eat our takeaway before we got there. So that's why I found myself in a bitterly cold Lancashire, in the bitterly cold Lancashire night air, standing in the street, probably inappropriately dressed, eating a steak and kidney pudding full of scalding hot gravy with my fingers. It wasn't one of my better life choices, I have to say. I mean, just fortunate that I didn't have a beard at the time, because I'd have been combing gravy out of it for weeks after. And that's my biggest memory of my first visit to Blackpool. I'm going to say the others after that were just with the kids. And I'll say, this pipe smokes very well. It's a very flavourful smoke, and it's very cool and dry. The draw is pretty good on it. I think I'm going to enjoy this, make it quite a regular. The tobacco is an aromatic. It's meant to be flavoured with licorice. I think it's predominantly Virginia, but it's as black as black tea, black as midnight. You probably really, really dark. And it's been aged. This is meant to be over 10 years old. And it wouldn't be my normal choice of tobacco, but a fellow member of the UK Pipe and Tobacco Club was having to sadly give up pipe smoking on health grounds, and so he was selling off his cellar of tobacco and his pipes. And I originally bought, there were two tobaccos he had that I really wanted to try, two German blends. HU is the blend manufacturer, and they were the HU Louisiana Broken Director's Cut. And those are what I bought from him. But sadly, he put the wrong address on them, and they disappeared into the British postal system, never to be seen again. Who knows? Someone somewhere must have had a nice smoke. I don't know. But by the time we'd worked all this out, he didn't have many tobaccos left, and so I took as replacement this Esoterica Blackpool and another one which I'll smoke at some point. I haven't. I'll get that out. That's a burper. It's a burley perique cake. So I'll give that a go. But it's got a very high percentage of perique in it. I know that, which I'm not sure how I'll get along with, because perique tends to irritate my mouth a bit. Oh, anyway, I'm up to 15 minutes and I've been rambling on with memories of Blackpool and seaside rocks shaped like willies and steak and kidney puddings. I'm sure it's all been fascinating for you. Unlikely to increase the number of subscribers I get, I should think. So I better call it a halt there. Aside from anything else, I'm sitting here in my kitchen and it's absolutely freezing here in London this afternoon. Well, certainly in my house anyway. Because my house, the situation of it, it doesn't get any sunlight. So it's cold all year round, even in the height of summer. And in winter it's really, really cold indeed. So I better get up and move around before hypothermia sets in. So once again, thank you to everyone that subscribed to me. Absolutely amazing. I'm really, really chuffed about it. I'm so pleased that I actually started making these videos. And hopefully people do find something of some interest in them in any case. And I will be arranging the 100 sub giveaway, and as soon as I've got a bit of money to spare, and hopefully I shall see you all again soon. And I'm glad you were here to share this with me, because I really like this pipe. I think it's excellent. Not too sure about the tobacco. But as I say, it wouldn't normally be my thing. And it's been aged in a jar for over 10 years. I'm not sure what the value of aging an aromatic in a jar, a bulk by aromatic in a jar is really. Because I can't detect any licorice flavouring on it whatsoever, I must admit. Anyway, I've started rambling again. I will call a halt now. Cheers everybody. Hope to speak to you again soon. Bye.